It certainly shows my age, but maybe there's something to learn from an occasional word from an old guy. Remember the expression, if you're as old as I am, the birds and the bees. Now, that used to mean an expression where you were saying or understanding or perhaps trying to decide, how do we tell young people about sex, about sex and what it is and what it does, and about how babies are born? Well, that was to tell them about the birds and the bees. Well, I don't think we do that much anymore. And unfortunately, where they learn some of those things is probably from rather than, well, let's put it this way, probably dubious sources. And that's why parents have to be the leaders of doing that and doing it well and taking full responsibility for how children learn that. Because what they learn in school and what they learn from their friends probably will not do the right thing. So end of comment there. However, I want to flip that to an expression which is very important, which I've used for some time, and it's called, you need to know about the birds and the snakes. The birds and the snakes. In fact, one of my mentors made the point that that is probably one of the most important things that you can learn from Jesus. The birds and the snakes. Well, that sounds like an interesting idea, and perhaps I've gotten you to say, okay, I'll give this about 15 more minutes and see what the guy has to say. I think you'll find it interesting, because it truly is an interesting idea. That's the name of the program, and it begins right now. In my performance coaching, I called it very, very straight, and nobody was ever offended by the fact that I have particular political or religious views, because I never made them part of the conversation. Because it wasn't about my political or religious views. When I was working with a client, it was all about them and what they wanted to be, what they wanted to do, and what they wanted to believe. And they weren't paying me to judge them, or to lecture them or preach to them. They were paying me to be the best I could be at helping them do what they wanted to do. However, I always had a subtle philosophy that I'm certain came in from time to time, and this is particularly one where I actually was very clear about it. I pointed out that one of my great mentors, and the man's name was, again, this dates me, a television bishop. His name was Fulton J. Sheen, and back in the 1950s, he competed against Milton Berle, Sid Caesar, Red Skelton for TV time on the three major networks, and consistently, this man who was dressed up like the proverbial Catholic cardinal, all in the full costume, as he would say, and with a blackboard, would give a theological storytelling presentation. Not a lecture, not a sermon, but a storytelling presentation. And it was so well received. And one of his books, he made the statement that came back to me as I read some of Richard Rohr's comments the other day. He said, the book of Matthew in the Christian Scriptures, 10:16, Jesus says, "Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents and innocent as doves." And what the good bishop meant was, that's one of the keys to living well in the world today. To be in the midst of wolves, you're kind of a small little lamb. You're kind of a sheep. And they don't have very much of the advantage over the big bad wolf. So be as wise as a snake and innocent as a dove. So let's think about that. Now, we are doing, as some of you now know, a presentation called The Jesus Entrepreneur Experience, and what I'm trying to do is saying it's not about the Christian religion and faith, it's about Jesus as an entrepreneur and what you can learn about the life of an entrepreneur by looking at the life and entrepreneurial work done by Jesus. What kind of mindset did he have? How did he sell? How did he build the company? And how did he teach and coach and counsel his customers and colleagues? And then, was there a special force, a special wisdom that he was able to tap into from time to time? And my point is that if we do it right, we who want to be innovators in our business need to be imitators of the master entrepreneur. And that's another pitch for another time. Wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Let me read from a little bit of what Richard said. By the way, sometime you'll be able to watch my own presentation on that. But let me just give credit to two gentlemen, because I like to give credit to other smart people. Pastor Richard Rohr, and he talks about a late author and preacher by the name of Peter J. Gomez. He said, here's the deal. You need both innocence and experience to live well today. Both the serpent and the dove. If you have any chance of making it as a person of faith in this world, innocent without experience eventually becomes a state of pure illusion, and experience without vision deteriorates into cynical despair. By the way, most people today are living with illusion and also living with despair. The rate of depression is skyrocketing. I heard the other day, and I don't want to say it without more affirmation, but it was on a major newscast because there is a group that is trying to work with the prevention of suicide of our veterans. And just at the ending, the commentator said that we're now averaging 20 a day. Do you mean by the end of this day, 20 men and women who were veterans in our armed forces have decided that life is so difficult that they take their own life? Well, then we need to do something about that. Here's what they continue to say. When Jesus speaks of the wisdom of the serpent, he's not giving us an invitation to cynicism. He wants us, like the serpent, always to know what is going on. Of all the creatures, the serpent is one of the ones who is most aware of his environment, most sensitive to his surroundings, most in touch with circumstances, for his entire body is a live wire of sensation. And here's the deal. And this is what I was preaching, teaching, coaching. We are meant to be aware, heads up, eyes open, mind on full throttle, and we're not easily fooled or seduced by the blandishments and the foolishness of life. As I also said, Jesus is saying, be smart, be sharp, be savvy, be streetwise. All of the things that we oftentimes attribute to the people who do evil, in terms of understanding the times and knowing what to do, be the best. Don't be dumb. Don't be stupid. Don't be foolish. Don't do foolish things. Or tomorrow I'll talk about don't do stupid things. Okay, now to continue. Here we go. To be innocent as a dove is an exercise neither in naivete nor in deception. Here we go. The dove is the symbol of the Spirit of God. And where the dove is, there is to be found serenity, reconciliation, peace. When Noah wanted to know if it was all right to go back into the world, he didn't ask for a weather report. The story says he sent out for the dove. When Jesus was baptized, God's favor was shown in the descent of the dove and the Holy Spirit. The present tense of God is represented in Christian art by the dove. Give me the dove any day. The dove is no dumb bird. Jesus tells us that to survive in this world, we need to know what is going on. As I oftentimes say, you're like Bugs Bunny. What's up, Doc? What's going on here? And not be overwhelmed by it. And to do that, we need to live all of the time in a divine and creative dialogue between innocence, that's the first and the love of our faith, and experience, by which we learn what we need to know. One of the keys to success is not the birds and the bees, it's the birds and the snakes. And for us to take that parable, that metaphor, that simple story, and say every day, give me the wisdom of a wise serpent, and give me the gentle, smart, but loving innocence and the spirit force of the dove. Think about that the next time you see a snake, like we oftentimes do in Arizona, and they can be dangerous, but they know what's going on. And when the dove lands in the little bird feeder, or you see it walking around, think about the fact that that should be you in some ways. Serpents and doves, birds and snakes. This is Interesting Ideas. I'm Stan Houston. This kind of teaching is what I do, and I do it well. And I'd be glad to help you in your business. Now, take all that you learned in this 10 minutes and have a conversation with your staff and your colleagues. What can we do to make us more snake-like, more aware of what's going on with our customers, with our clients, with our vendors? How can we know best what's going on? How can we forecast well? How can we strategize well? How can we be super aware of what's going on? And then let's take that savvy, that smartness, and let's put it together with a sense of humility, a sense of passion and concern and care for others. How can we be gentle and kind? I just parked next to a car, and the sign on the car said this: you can do anything you want in the world, so be kind. I said, well, that's a good idea for a radio program, because you see, I'm always looking for ideas for radio programs, and that's why I never run out of things to talk about. So there we go. Please think about that. Be, innocent and gentle as that little dove. Be wise and savvy and fully aware as that serpent. Doves and serpents, birds and snakes. I can help you be better at both. My name is Stan Houston. I've got about 45 years of broadcasting and teaching, and I've got well over a quarter century of business performance coaching. I would like to believe that I know a little bit about birds and snakes. So please reach out to me, stanhouston@gmail.com, stanhouston@gmail.com. And again, close with a benediction. I wish you today and in the rest of the week, and maybe forever, the wisdom of the serpent and the gentleness of the dove. Bye for now.